So the slimy, slippery tapeworm and co-founder of Give, Send, Go, Jacob Wells, just did another interview. Except this time, he wasn't talking about Carmelo Anthony. He was talking about Shiloh Hendrix. And the media brought him on to pressure him into basically getting rid of the Shiloh Hendrix fundraiser campaign. Now, you all know I have criticized this guy across multiple videos, but I also like to be fair. And to be fair, I agree with some of what Jacob is saying in this interview that I'm about to show you guys. The only problem is, I know that right now he is in kind of in damage control mode. I really get the sense that he took a step back and he really looked at the reactions that were going on surrounding these stories. And I feel like he has I basically feel like he formed his position based on the reactions that he saw. He gauged how the public was acting. He saw a lot of the criticism he was getting, and now he's basically doing damage control, saying some things that he probably thinks some people would like to hear. But nevertheless, I do agree with some of what he has to say. Now, he also talks about his support of free speech and stuff like that, and a lot of it sounds good. But we know that he was all in support of free speech when people were saying crazy stuff in support of Karmelo. But only a day and a half into the Shiloh Hendrix campaign, he turned the comments off. So I don't know how big of a supporter for free speech Jacob Wells is. At the very least, I know that he's scared of whatever repercussions or whatever may come to him if white people use their freedom of speech. Because Carmelo supporters were allowed to say whatever they wanted to say. He went and did interviews supporting their right to say that. And then as soon as the Shiloh Hendrix situation popped up, about a day and a half later, he shuts off comments. So that's very telling. I'm definitely not going to forget about that, even if he is saying some things that I do like on the news. But I do want to go ahead and play this interview for you. But first, if you enjoy this channel, if you like the videos, if you're entertained or informed by these videos, do me a favor. Like the video, share the video, comment, subscribe, put your notifications on. And if you want to take your support even further, you could always donate via Cash App or Super Thanks. It's always greatly appreciated, but it's obviously not mandatory. But with that being said, let's go ahead and take a look at this interview, and then I'll be back with more thoughts.
Give, Send, Go. And joining me now, the co-founder and CFO, Jacob Wells. Jacob, thank you for being with us tonight. I guess I just don't understand why you would want to allow this woman, Shiloh Hendrix, call the little boy the N-word, and the video is just awful. And then in the description on your website, backs it up again. Why not just block her? And she's raised almost $1 million, so she's now going to be a millionaire, and that's because of you, it seems like.
Well, it's definitely not because of me. It's because of people donating to her, which I'm not one of them. We're a platform, so people are donating to her from a variety of different places. But the question, the deeper question, one is, why do we allow campaigns that even we sometimes may disagree with? Well, because in America, we have freedoms that came at a very high price. And that was the blood of men and women that gave up their lives so that we could live in a society where even things that we disagree with can be spoken about. But there's also other aspects to this whole thing, which is what do we give to the mob to be able to go after people with a snapshot of their life blown over social media as a way to completely destroy them? And this mob mentality has absolutely ruined so many people's lives over the past several years. And we can actually just look in the recent past, 3 weeks ago in Nevada, a veterinarian who was giving some medicine to a horse kicked the horse, and it was caught on video, and then it was sent live on public social media. And because of the outrage of that brief moment, and this guy who's had a successful career, he goes and takes his life. He commits suicide because of the outrage, because of a social media video clip.
But that's different than the woman. And I get what you're saying, and we're against cancel culture, and I hear you with the veterinarian. But that is different than the woman on camera calling the little boy the N-word.
No, so let's just clarify some of the facts. So one,
but you hear her voice.
No, I'm just going to clarify some of the facts. We don't know the age of this child, so that's in contestant rate number one. The boy was rummaging through her belongings, which caused the backlash. So it wasn't like she unprovoked just stepped into a situation and called a young boy a term. It was because this boy, who some people say is as old as 10 years old, was actually stealing from her. And she said, no, that doesn't excuse, I don't condone calling people racial epithets and bad names at all. But there is a place for, I mean, there was GoFundMe allowed a campaign for the boy and his family, and it raised $350,000. So is that condoning thievery or stealing? I don't see the outrage against GoFundMe.
I guess I just don't understand how, when you watch that video and then see what she posted on your site, and again, big picture, I hear what you're saying about mob mentality and cancel culture. I do. But that video just bothered me so much. And then to see what she wrote again, I'm just thinking, if I owned the site and I controlled it, you know, you could pick and choose. You could say, this is not good. We're a Christian site. Like, no.
Well, no, that's true. We can pick and choose. And what we realize is that the mission of Give, Send, Go is to share the hope of Jesus in dark moments. And we realize that Shiloh is going through a dark moment just as much as this other family is. And we want to be a light in all of these moments. And the way that you approach them—
But it's $1 million. It's money. It's not a light. You're not going and knocking on her door and saying, hey, let me help you learn how to be a better person. Let's figure out why you use that word. But she's going to get $1 million.
Well, from small donations, average donation size, I think around $30 a person. So not massive amounts by individuals. And that's partially fueled also by the Karmelo Anthony campaign, which you made reference to in the teaser to this. The Karmelo Anthony campaign caused a lot of outrage as well. And we seat ourselves on principle on these issues rather than emotion. You have to take a step back from the emotion of these, because they are very highly emotional issues. And you say, what are we going to land on in principle? And in America, we operate on principles, and they actually create social fabric unity. And when we undermine those principles for the sake of mob outrage or emotionalism or sensationalism, we actually undermine the principles that hold us together as a culture. So in like Karmelo's case, he deserves the presumption of innocence until proven guilty in a court of law, just like everyone does. And the moment that we begin to undermine that principle for anyone, it becomes nullified for everybody. And I can provide a very strong case for why we've set our jurisprudence, our legal system, on the cornerstone of presumption of innocence, because it's good for our societies to flourish, and many other reasons. These are the reasons why we do these things. They're actually principled reasons, not emotional reasons. So I get they're hard situations, they're difficult moments, but you got to take a step back from the emotion. You got to say, hey, listen, what's going on here? Should people have the right to make donations and give money to people of their own choosing? Yes, they should be able to.
How much do you make off of these donations? Is there a percentage?
Yeah, it's a great question. No, we're actually a free platform. We kind of broke the mold a little bit when we created Give, Send, Go, because all the other platforms were taking 5 to 10% of every donation that they received. And we said, you know, it doesn't make sense to take money from people that are raising money because they need the money they're raising. Why don't we just ask for generosity from people that are giving? And so we created a system where people can optionally donate to Give, Send, Go if they choose to. It's completely voluntary. They don't have to. So people don't have to donate to us if they don't want to.
Okay, so when they donate, they can click to donate to you, and that's how you make money. But it doesn't come out of the percentage that goes to these people. But you are
Correct, and it's
making money,
voluntary.
obviously. The more people who come on, the more people that that click on that. You're making you're making a living off of this website.
Yeah, it employs over 40 employees. We have campaigns around the world. We're available in 80 countries. Millions of people use Give, Send, Go.
So what have you made? Just Shiloh Hendrix, for example. What have you made off of the people who donated to her, who clicked on the tab to give you money? What have you made off of her case?
To be honest, I have no idea what the amount of money would have been raised.
Let's say she gets to $1 million, are you going to make like 250 grand, 100,000 off of it?
No, not even close. But one of the things that we do at Give, Send, Go, see, this is where we inject hope into all of these moments. You can see there's a pray button on that campaign, but we also have a prayer team at Give, Send, Go, and we call all of these campaigns, and we actually do speak with them, and we actually do share hope with these people in the middle of
just that she gets $1 million. I mean, and it's going through your site. Again, I understand what you're saying, big picture, but I just think I would have a hard time going to bed at night knowing.
It is a hard time.
I would have a hard time going to bed at night knowing that my website is making that woman a millionaire. And that's not. I'm not being emotional about it. I'm just saying my own personal ethics. I don't think I could do that.
Yeah, well, I believe in freedom of speech, freedom of association. These are foundational tenets to the society that we live in. And when you start going down the road of cancellation and cancel culture, it actually breeds the very things that we say that we're against. So when
there's a difference between cancel culture and canceling someone and giving them a platform to raise $1 million. I mean, there's a difference.
No, that's it. No, it's not. It's actually the same exact thing. This is the byproduct of this moment that we sit in culture, where there is so much fomenting divisiveness going on. It's a byproduct of 20 years of big tech platforms that have used the cancel culture mantra. We're just going to cancel people, instead of making the hard decision of saying, hey, how do we navigate this well in the middle, where we're not just taking sides in the middle of these things, but how do we stay centered in the midst of it, recognize the freedoms that we have in America, bring hope at the same time, and then navigate.
I don't get how this has anything to do with hope, especially with some of these cases. But we appreciate you giving your perspective, Jacob Wells. Thank you for coming on with us.
Great. Thank you very much. Appreciate it, Brian.
Okay.
Now, I'm sure the reporter Brian Enton will get some hate for his take on this situation, but he's been on a couple of other cases that I've covered in the past, and I gotta say, he is one of the better reporters out there. Do I agree with him here? No, but I'm not the type of person where I feel like I have to agree with everything you say in order to like you as a person or in order to treat you as a human being. Too often these days, people feel like they have to agree with what someone says day in and day out. You got to agree with every single opinion. That's not how life used to work. Some of my best friends, me and them didn't see eye to eye on a lot of things. I hate how nowadays people feel like you got to agree with everything or you're the enemy. But also, I will say that if you're someone, though, that didn't demand for Carmelo Anthony's fundraiser to be taken down, then whatever demands you have for the Shiloh Hendrix fundraiser are null and void and not to be taken seriously. So when I see people demanding for Shiloh's fundraiser to be taken down, and I notice that they said nothing about Carmelo Anthony's fundraiser, I just don't really care about what they have to say. You know what I mean? But Jacob's reaction, I mean, everything Jacob said in this interview, maybe not everything, but most of it I agree with. I would say that Jacob handled himself very well, that he argued his position very well. The only problem is that we know that he's not being totally honest about his position. Everything he said in the interview, it sounded good. I can't really criticize it. But we know that, you shut off the comments for Shiloh Hendrix. So you talk a good talk on the news, you defend your position well, yet when put in action, you didn't really do much defense of your position when you cut off the comments for Shiloh after allowing the comments for Karmelo to go for over a month. So everything he said sounded good, but you got to understand that a lot of people out there, especially people like Jacob, some of these people are chameleons and they'll adapt to whatever they think sounds good at the time. Jacob got a lot of pushback for some of the stuff that he said. Now Jacob's saying things that sound good. And regardless if this was just Jacob's position all along, that definitely was not put on display through his actions. Actions speak louder than words. His words sound good in this interview, but his actions did not back up the words that he used in this interview, because his actions showed that after a day and a half, he chickened out, he cowered out, he didn't care about the freedom of speech when white people started talking, which is why I've had a problem with Jacob this entire time. It's not because of necessarily some of the things he says, it's because of what he does. And the whole time he was preaching about the freedom of speech, something told me that this guy was not necessarily to be trusted. And often, the people who preach the loudest are guilty of the most. So, when it comes to Jacob, I always had an off feeling about him, and those feelings were justified when he shut off Shiloh's comments. But even I will admit that when watching this interview, I do agree with a lot of what he says. Now, what I don't like is that at times it kind of felt like he was using Jesus as a deflection. Like, be as religious as you want. You can say Jesus' name 1,000 times in the conversation. Cool. But like when you're getting put on the spot and people are asking you questions and you kind of deflect to talking about religion and Jesus instead of answering those questions, there's something about that that really just rubs me the wrong way. It's like you're kind of trying to use religion and the mentioning of Jesus to wiggle your way out of a corner or something here when someone's trying to press you. And I'm glad that he asked him. I'm glad that Brian asked Jacob about how he made money, because I was curious as well, because they're not doing this for free. No one does anything for free. So he kept saying that Give, Send, Go is a free platform, but obviously they're raking money in. So I'm glad that he pressed him on that as well. And look, say what you want to say about the overall interview. When it comes to even the reporter, how can I put this? When it comes to Brian Enton criticizing Shiloh's Give, Send, Go, if this existed in a bubble, in a pocket, I would criticize it as well. Because I don't think it's a good thing. I think it's cool, like if you could raise money for good causes. I don't think it's a good thing when our society starts raising money for people who are doing wrong things or bad things. But in a world where $500,000 was just raised for someone because they killed a white kid, in a world where that is allowed, then of course Shiloh should be allowed to raise money, right? Now, in a better world, in a better society, people would raise money for good reasons, and we wouldn't be out here raising money for murderers, and we wouldn't be out here raising money for people who are calling people mean names, and we wouldn't be shoving cameras in people's face trying to cancel them and ruin their lives all the time. But that's not the world we live in, apparently, right? So I have no problem with there not being a Shiloh Hendrix fundraiser if there was no Karmelo Anthony fundraiser. But as I explained to you all before the Shiloh Hendrix situation even happened, I explained to you all that the Karmelo Anthony story and all of the money he raised was going to open a can of worms. And once the genie is out of the genie bottle, you have a hard time putting him back in. So I knew that it was going to set a new standard. That now people are going to raise money for this, people are going to raise money for that. We will have race wars being fought through donations, and that's where we're at now. So yeah, I think it would be better for society if there was no fundraiser for Karmelo or for Shiloh. But because there is one for Karmelo, there must be one for Shiloh. And now we're going to see more fundraisers for other people, and we'll see how far this takes us. Will it take us down a dark path? Yes. I already warned you about that dark path. I have no power to stop us from where we're going, though. I'm just here reacting to all of this crazy stuff as it happens. For now, though, you guys let me know what you think about all of this down in the comments below. While you're down there, hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe, ring that notification bell, and I'll talk to you all very soon in the next one.